At Cornell University, they have an incredible piece of scientific equipment known as the tunneling electron microscope. Now, this microscope is so powerful that by firing electrons, you can actually see images of the atom, the infinitesimally minute building block of our universe. Roger, if I were using that microscope right now, I still wouldn't be able to locate my interest in your problem.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away,
So today's video is about the Jimmy Kimmel thing and what really happened behind the scenes. The Wall Street Journal was caught plagiarizing Bill O'Reilly, who first reported the ACLU letter with the 400 signatures from all the leftards that were upset that Jimmy Kimmel got away with being as ugly as they are. And it's the reason why I'm talking about it is because it says something about Bob Iger, okay? It really does. And where Iger's status is in the Hollywood industry, because quite frankly, he was bullied into bringing Kimmel back. Now, we know Sinclair and Nexstar, it took them a couple of days to basically allow Jimmy Kimmel's show to come back on the air. But they have a problem with trying to sell advertising during his time slot, and it doesn't work. And one of the reasons why, probably the real reason why he was canned to begin with, was because he was losing people money. His ratings were in the toilet. They aspire to be in the toilet, put it that way. So O'Reilly has basically a video out, and I'm going to include it in the description here, where he basically says, you know, the ACLU sent that letter, 400 morons signed it, and when I look at it, it is not a question of free speech. It is a question of the right of association, all right, which is in the Constitution. I think it's in the First Amendment. And Bob Iger did not have to have Jimmy Kimmel represent the Walt Disney Company or ABC after what he said about Charlie Kirk, which was ugly and disturbing. But if you know anything about Jimmy Kimmel, he's a disgusting human being. He really is. I mean, if you ever watched any part of The Man Show, he's just a pervert. I mean, just, you know, it's vulgar. He's a vulgarian. He's not funny. And, you know, so the ACLU sends this letter in regards to him. And it seems like Iger said, okay, fine, we'll bring him back. That's not the whole story. The whole story is even more disturbing and even more angry. It would make me if I was Bob Iger. And it also showed me that maybe some of the things that Kathleen Kennedy's been able to get away with while detaching herself from Lucasfilm, it makes more sense because Bob Iger's afraid of being called a sexist. He's afraid of looking like he doesn't stand for free speech. And he's very susceptible to threats. Now, you know, Bill O'Reilly will say, the Walt Disney Company is disappearing. It's not disappearing, and it's not going to go bankrupt or stop it. But Iger has to worry. Let's talk more.
Boy, That escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
You serve me, and the manner in which you serve me reflects upon me. I would have thought that a gentleman from a family as esteemed as yours would understand that.
First off, let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. No one watches his show. It's not funny. It's not well done. He's not the reincarnation of Tom Snyder or, Johnny Carson or David Letterman. He's just a mediocrity of a comedian who knew whose ass to kiss, and that's his talent. So what happened, according to Bill O'Reilly, and now the Wall Street Journal did not, by the way, give O'Reilly any credit in their article. Let's go on. Brian Lord of CAA called Bob Iger and said, if you don't reinstate Jimmy and you don't tell you don't tell Sinclair or Nexstar to get off his back, we're not going to send our talent to you. They're basically going to cancel the Walt Disney Company. And Brian Lord, he's Carrie Fisher's baby daddy. Personally, I find him completely deplorable. He came out as gay to her. What a shitty thing to do to her, by the way. But this is not why we're here. He's probably the most powerful talent agent in Hollywood. And he threatened Bob Iger. He bullied him. Then we have, Iger going to reinstate Kimmel. Again, everybody. Not because the FCC, they didn't fire Kimmel because of the FCC. They fired him because of what Kimmel said was so disgusting and disturbing. Then, of course, you've got William Morris Endeavor with Ari Emanuel, who's Rahm Emanuel's brother. They called and they bullied Iger. Okay, so this is what I find fascinating. Okay, bear with me. You've got these talent agencies threatening the studios, threatening the entertainment companies. I don't know how you can go from A to B and pretend like you're doing anything noble or whatever, because your bread and butter, how you feed yourself, is by how successful your latest project is. Harrison Ford's got 1923 and Shrinking. Mark Hamill has nothing. His last thing was a flop. Why? Because, again, and they're told by their agents, you can say whatever you want. They have to hire you. Well, since when does Walt Disney Company, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Skydance, any of them, MGM, Amazon, have to give somebody like that a platform? They don't. And I'm literally like going, I don't understand how they do things anymore. There's no reason in the world for Jimmy Kimmel to be back on TV. Again, his ratings are literally, I think they were lower than Stephen Colbert, and he's probably costing ABC more. But here we are, because they folded like origami, because these talent agents with way too much power over the studios threatened Bob Iger, of all people. This is not how you do good business. This is not how you get people to watch your show. You do not give someone who's as ugly on the outside as he is on the inside a platform to say whatever the heck he wants. I mean, you know, did anybody notice what happened on November 5th last year? The Democrats got bulldozed, and it's getting worse for them. Yet here we are, because Bob Iger and ABC and the Walt Disney Company, you know, the lawyers said they're going to ruin us. And apparently, Brian Lord has the power to do that. Apparently, Ari Emanuel and all the rest of these punk-ass agents have the power to do that. Meanwhile, Hollywood has lost 42,000 jobs since the writer's strike. Okay? Since the writer's strike. And this is where we're at. They have to rehire Jimmy Kimmel. They threaten, because Bob Iger and the companies were getting threatened by the big bullies in town, the gay mafia, and here we are. And yet, Hollywood is shrinking, and it's dying, because they're not hiring talent, they're not protecting the talent, they're looking at people they think are bankable, and they're not. Jimmy Kimmel is not bankable. I'm sure he wouldn't even be allowed to open for Joe Rogan anymore. Okay? Now, if you're somebody who believes in free speech, is saying he never should have been let go, my solution is, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll look at his ratings, and then we'll see how much money they're losing. Then we can decide if he should be fired or not, because that's exactly what is going on here. Right? He just opened up the door for them to get rid of him. And then threw a hissy fit because and I'll tell you something, he had every right to be afraid, because ain't no one gonna want to hire him. Okay? Now, he could go and have a podcast and challenge Joe Rogan and Sean Ryan and Theo Vaughn. We'll see how well that goes. But, you know, he got away with being an ugly bastard, because even uglier bastards went to his aid. Bob Iger does not have to give him a platform, but he was coerced into it, because Brian Lord, Ari Emanuel, and the rest of this garbage threatened him. Now you sit there and wonder why Kathleen Kennedy still has a job. Okay? Because, like the British police, Bob Iger doesn't want to act like he's against free speech, and he sure as hell doesn't want to look like a sexist, because he fired Kathleen Kennedy. Okay? This is the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever seen in my life. This is why they have to go back to being a merit-based economy and industry there. Okay? I mean, look, the story that came out in the Hollywood Reporter about Kevin Costner is enough to make you go, oh my God. That industry is festooned with narcissistic psychopaths. All right? And that's the bottom line. And Jimmy Kimmel is every bit the narcissistic psychopath, talentless hack as any of the rest of them are, but he screamed loud enough that Bob Iger said, fine, I'll bring you back, because I don't want to lose the opportunity to make movies with the following creatives that were being held over my head like the sword of Damocles by Brian Lord and Ari Emanuel and the rest of them. This is Steph signing out. See you around the galaxy.